All right, we're going to cut in the news bulletin to go live to the 130th regular meeting of the Arab League Foreign Ministers, which is convened in the headquarters of the Arab League in the Egyptian capital, Cairo. Newly elected Egyptian President Mohamed Morsi is addressing the meeting.
My brother, my beloved brother, the Foreign Minister and the Deputy Prime Minister of Kuwait, my honorable brothers, the Foreign Ministers of the brotherly Arab countries, to all those who are present, ladies and gentlemen, you who are present in this hall, and to all those who are listening, wherever they may be, I would like to greet you all, and I would like to salute you with the greetings of Islam. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. And at the beginning, I would like to welcome all of you. I welcome you in Egypt. I welcome you in the home of the Arabs, in the proud Cairo, in the center of liberation, Tahrir, in the center of Cairo, in this square, or right next to the Nile River, the vein of life for Egypt. In this square, which was the launching pad of the revolution of 25th of January, whereby the Egyptian people went out to the streets, all of them, they went out to the streets and demanded and took their rights for freedom, dignity and justice. This revolution, this is a revolution of all the Arabs. It is not only the revolution of the Egyptians. And this revolution opened the door, or turned a new page, a bright new page in the history of Egypt. The revolution of the 25th of January was not only a movement by the Egyptian people for the sake of freedom and dignity. It was not only focused on the Egyptian issue or Egyptian affairs. This movement also was a declaration which nobody could express doubt in, regarding the wishes of Egyptian people, how the Egyptian people want to go back and want Egypt to go back and occupy its natural position in the Arab Ummah. In order for Egypt to contribute to this Ummah, the Egyptian people want to participate in building a bright Arab future. Unfortunately, this came after the Egyptians, or after Egypt as a country, left the Egyptian joint efforts, left this framework of the joint Arab efforts. So once again, after being sidelined or marginalized, we lived this period over the past few decades, a period of being sidelined. So now, once again, we are going back to Egypt's natural historic role, the effective role, the role of unity, the complete role, a role which is in completion with the Arab world, not only with the Arab world, but also with the Islamic world, a role with the Islamic, African and international world. If the Arabs rise, then the whole world rises. And if the Arabs are absent, this is a situation as we witness today in our world which we live in. This is Egypt. Egypt now is completing its achievement of democratic transformation, and the Egyptian people have elected their legislative and executive representatives. These were free and noble elections. And throughout the stages of these elections, throughout the different stages of these elections, the international community monitored and observed, and many regional and international organizations also monitored this process, including the Arab League. And I would like, my beloved, on this occasion, I would like to express my thanks, the thanks of the Egyptian people for the efforts which were pursued by the experts of the Arab League in monitoring and observing the presidential elections. of course, this role was appreciated by the Egyptian people. Ladies and gentlemen, to all those who are present, Egypt's commitment to the causes of the Arab Ummah is a historic commitment. And the revolution of 25th of January renewed this commitment. And if you read our Arab history, if you look into the international reality or the reality on the international arena, we can reach the same conclusion. And this conclusion is that our ability as Arabs to confront the challenges of the current period depend very much on our ability to further develop the frameworks of joint Arab efforts. There is no doubt that by agreeing amongst one another regarding the principles and the means and the goals, by agreeing on all this, and what is required from us is to be complete, to complete one another, and to be capable of further developing the frameworks and the means of the joint Arab efforts in order to revive the understanding of Arab unity, and in order to revive the agreement of joint Arab defense and the joint fate or destiny, and also the joint vision towards the goals, towards what we want to achieve. We all want to achieve these goals for our sons and our grandchildren, and for those who are living with us now, today, in this region, and also in the whole world. And I believe, my beloved, that you agree with me that the time has come in order to complete the efforts which the Arab countries had begun ever since year 2004 in order to discuss further developing the joint Arab efforts mechanism and to transform this issue into a priority which requires movement, and strong steps. And here we are moving and we are taking steps. But nobody by himself can do this alone. This needs strong movement in order to reach tangible results in accordance with three important principles, three main principles. First of all, re-evaluating the Arab League and how it addressed the issues ever since the Tunisia Summit 2004 with respect to reforming the system of the joint Arab efforts. And this was based on the focus on mechanisms and frameworks for new committees in the Arab League and under the monitoring of this Arab League and changing the names of some of the institutions of this organization. But the issue, the fundamental part, is not only to further modernize our mechanisms or change names of institutions. What is required is to make real amendments, real true amendments regarding the current frameworks and mechanisms related to joint Arab efforts, whether they be in the essence or in the expertise or even in the real support, so that we can overcome this issue of joint Arab efforts, and so that we can also overcome the stage of slogans and words, and then we can see real translation on the ground, clear translation on the ground, which will bring about tangible results that all people will feel, all people will be convinced with. Then the normal citizen will support this process, will support us in all the Arab world. Second of all, the relationship with the neighboring countries of the Arab world, from our perspective, from Egypt's perspective, these are countries with whom we share geography and history and joint interests, which maybe are not identical sometimes. But this requires us to further encourage more efforts in order to bring about a unified approach, an approach which is agreed upon in order to set or to complete or specify our relations with the neighboring countries, which focuses on the Arab interests and our priorities of the steps we should take and the means of joint cooperation with all neighboring countries in accordance with every specific case in every specific country as part of our joint efforts to further develop the Arab work or the Arab countries, and Egypt believes that the proposal made regarding the neighboring countries of the Arab world must be based on a number of principles. The first is to preserve the sovereignty and territorial integrity and the peace and the Arabism of the Arab world, and to reject any attempt to threaten any part of this Arab world or to touch any part of the Arab world or to touch any part, any piece of soil in the Arab world. Cooperation with the neighboring countries, from the perspective of the Arab countries, cooperation must come only based upon a clear declaration, a clear-cut declaration regarding the respect of the sovereignty of the Arab countries and the non-intervention in the affairs of these countries. Number three, the achievement of the Secretariat General of the Arab League and the committee which was formed by the Secretary General to discuss the development of joint Arab efforts, and the report which was issued, which includes different proposals or specific proposals with regards to developing these joint Arab efforts and the striving to implement this. This represents our priority, which calls for more steps and more action to complete the process. I stressed before this time, from Egypt's perspective, we are in communication and we complete one another and we agree with all our brothers, with all our Arab brothers and all our Muslim brothers and also others in the world. However, we do not intervene in the internal affairs of anyone, and we do not export the revolution to anyone. However, we support the people who are moving in and striving to get their rights and freedom and get their will and preserve their dignity. This is something which Egypt supports, and this is what I see in the Arab League as well. Brothers and sisters, all you who are present, despite the challenges, the increasing challenges which we are witnessing in the Arab Ummah, and despite the quick events or the quick unfolding of events in the international arena and also in the Arab world, there is no doubt that the Palestinian cause remains the first cause of the Arabs and the most important condition to achieve security and stability in the Middle East and to achieve a revival for our Arab Ummah. Our Arab Ummah will not revive except if there is a just solution for the Palestinian problem. Our people, they announced that they support dignity and freedom and justice, and so these people, the people of the Arab world, cannot accept our Palestinian brothers being subject to an unjust occupation. They cannot accept our Palestinian brothers being their capabilities and their territory being stolen. And our people reject the Israeli approach regarding the settlement, reaching a settlement. And there is a clear absence as well from the other side, a clear absence to reach a solution. And we are in need as Arab countries. We are in dire need. We are in need of standing in support of righteousness, and we must provide the appropriate support for our Palestinian brothers until we reach a just and comprehensive solution which guarantees legitimate rights which are not subject to any compromise for the Palestinian people, and the establishment of an independent Palestinian state. These givens, which we do not disagree upon, require from us to use everything we can, all our influence and all our capabilities, to use all of this with the international community so that the international community takes our very same stance. And I believe in many parts of the world, many parts of the international community are ready for this. And at the same time, I would like to stress from this podium that Egypt will always support any movement or any steps which are decided by the Palestinian leadership. The Palestinian leadership decides the direction of the compass. And we support the Palestinian efforts to receive complete membership in the United Nations in the upcoming stages. And we will also participate in any joint Arab efforts to encourage or to push the international community to support this just Palestinian demand of statehood in the United Nations in order to send a clear message that it is no longer possible to continue ignoring the situation or the Palestinian situation. So what is required now, my dear brothers, is to go ahead and take steps which lead to political action, take diplomatic steps, and also steps which are supported by popular action, which will lead to political action, real political action, and will put the international community in front of its responsibilities to achieve just and comprehensive peace and to give back the rights to their rightful owners and to end all kinds of occupation for the Palestinian territories and the Arab territories. The Palestinian territories and the Arab territories, not only the Palestinian territories. And this calls for not allowing what has come to be known today as the peace process. This peace process cannot become something without essence, without meaning, endless negotiations, and certain transitional agreements which don't achieve the peace which we strive for, but only lead to a waste of time and a loss of opportunities for the Palestinian people and the people of the region. And on the other hand, retrieving unity amongst the Palestinians has become something which is urgent in light of the current tense circumstances and the very sensitive period which the Palestinian cause is going through. The disagreements between the brothers has become a big issue. And so here I would like to stress to all of you, and with all love and appreciation, and also with complete responsibility, I assure you that Egypt is committed completely to continuing with the efforts which had begun in order to achieve a Palestinian reconciliation. It is ready also to implement all of the articles or everything related to this reconciliation in order to fulfill the rights and the aspirations of the Palestinian people. Cairo, with all strength, will continue to take in the Palestinian brothers, to welcome them until the Palestinians decide what they should have decided regarding unity and agreement in order for all of us to assume our responsibility of solving the problems of the Palestinian brothers. Ladies and gentlemen, any talk of further developing the joint Arab efforts and building our joint future, any such talk cannot gain the appropriate momentum or reality as long as the sufferings of the Syrian brotherly people continue. No, we cannot close our eyes. We cannot close our eyes at the time where this blood in Syria is being shed. Once again, I repeat what I said in Mecca and in Tehran. The blood of the Syrian people, which is being spilled day and night, is on all of our necks. We are all responsible for this. And we must take steps. We must move towards an ending solution, a final solution, very quickly. The brotherly country of Syria, Syria the nation and Syria the people, Syria which is close to our hearts and to the hearts of all of the Arabs, a country which was one of the countries that founded the Arab League, has a special place in the hearts of all the Egyptian people, in my heart and in the hearts of my brothers in Egypt. Egypt and Syria have in common, over the previous years, have in common civilization and culture and history and Arabism and Islam and a joint fate or destiny. Together, we and Syria, side by side, we fought together, and the blood of our martyrs in the battlefield was mixed with the blood of Assyrians to defend the interests of the Arab world. And first and foremost, the most important interest was the Palestinian territories. We, at a very historic period of time, Egypt and Syria, at a historic period, which is very reflective regarding the dream of our Ummah in unity, Egypt and Syria were one country, one state. And so from here, we are very focused and concerned with what is going on in this brotherly country. And we are very keen on putting an end to the sufferings in the Syrian territories. Brothers are killing brothers, and thousands are displaced. Thousands of Assyrian people have been displaced. People who have become refugees in neighboring countries or refugees inside Syria itself. And on this occasion, doesn't this mean, very simply, I decided that the Syrian students in Egypt in this schooling year be treated just like Egyptian students, and at the same time we are holding serious discussions with our brothers in Turkey in order to give them or to send over teachers so that they can do the appropriate job, and so that the schooling year can begin 2012-2013, so that the students who went to Turkey will receive the appropriate education in the school year 2012-2013. So, from here, from this podium, I call on all of you, you the foreign ministers of the Arab League, you the representatives of your countries and of your peoples, I call on you to further expand the efforts in order to reach an urgent solution for the sufferings in Syria. And this should be within the framework of the Arab League and with international support. And I would like to stress this. It must be in an Arab framework, because if we don't move, then the whole world won't take any serious steps in this regard. And also with international support. And maybe waiting for our beloved brother Al-Akht al-Ibrahimi to return from Syria, and waiting for his presence here, maybe this has a meaning. It means that we as Arabs, we are taking steps within the framework of cooperation with the international community, within the Arab framework and with international support which preserves the territorial integrity of Syria and which includes all the components of the people of Syria without any differentiation based on race or religion or religious sect. And the Arab Ministerial Committee has issued or has adopted many resolutions which are considered very essential for an Arab solution. And this Arab solution has no goal whatsoever except to serve the interests of Syria and the people of Syria. And this will prevent Syria the catastrophe of falling into a civil war, or will prevent Syria from falling, God forbid. And this is something which we don't agree to, falling into the issue or the trap of foreign military intervention. We also must complete our efforts, the efforts which were begun by the Arab League to unify the Syrian opposition and to urge this opposition to propose a unified vision and a comprehensive vision regarding the democratic transitional process in Syria in a way which reassures all of the components of the brotherly Syrian people, assures them that they have rights which are preserved and have a clear stance or have a clear share in the future of Syria. I'd like to tell the Syrian regime, as long as there still is a chance in order to stop the bloodshed, do not take the right decision at the wrong time. The right decision at the wrong time is wrong, and there is no room for arrogance. Do not listen to the voices which are telling you to stay or giving you incentives to stay. Your presence won't remain long. The people of Syria have made their statement, have said their word, and the blood of the Syrians has been spilt, and it is being shed. So there is no room for any delay in taking a decision which preserves this blood and take Syria to the change which is required, a change and not a waste of time by speaking about reforms. This time has passed. Now is the time for change. Now there is still some time in order to stop this bloodshed. And if you don't do it now, then the wheel of history is continuing to turn, and the will of the people will have the upper hand, and the will of God is above anything else. And we are with the Syrian people, so that the Syrian people will get all of their rights with their will, without any delay, or without any intervention, in their internal affairs. The four-member committee which Egypt called for, this committee will meet, and everybody is called upon to participate and to pursue efforts. All efforts which you pursue is something which we thank. We appreciate all of your efforts. We must take positive action which preserves for the Syrian people their blood. There is no room for hesitation or wasting time. There is no room for that. Everybody must realize that the Syrian people have made their decision, and this decision must be implemented, the decision of change. The Syrian regime must learn the lesson. It must draw the lessons from modern history and also from previous history, and it must also learn the lessons from what happened throughout history. If people wanted life at any period of time, then destiny must answer to the demand of the people, and then night will become day, and the whole situation will end. This is the will of God. Change must happen now, with your will in supporting the Syrian people. All of you should support the Syrian people, and the Syrian people are the ones who decide their fate and choose the leadership, and they are the ones who decide their future. And I believe that the Syrian people are capable of doing so. Ladies and gentlemen, Egypt welcomed the election of Mr. Abd Rabbu Mansour Hadi as the president of the Republic of Yemen, and it welcomed the transitional transfer of power in Yemen after a lot of sufferings in that country. However, the transfer of power did occur in this brotherly country of Yemen, and so we stress that we are always ready in order to provide any support which our brothers in Yemen want or request in order to support the transitional political phase of this country, which includes the national dialogue and also constitutional reforms and preparing for the upcoming elections which the Yemeni people approved in 2014. These elections are to be held. We also look forward to a leading Arab role which helps Yemen in order to confront the economic challenges which this country is confronting at this very sensitive period of time. And I also must welcome the support which has been given by our brothers in Saudi Arabia and also the countries of the Gulf, the support given to Yemen. And this is something which we don't find strange from these brothers, because they have never been hesitant in supporting their brothers throughout the Arab world, in all corners of the Arab world. We support and highly value their role, and we always stand with them, side by side with them, in Saudi Arabia and in the Gulf. And we support them in their efforts in order to reach stability and security in the Gulf and to prevent any attempts to intervene or practice hegemony over the capabilities or in the affairs of this very, very lively area in the Arab world. Egypt is committed to this. It is historically committed to supporting all of our Arab brothers wherever they may be, exist. And this does not mean that we are against anyone or we declare war on anyone. And this does not mean that we are taking a negative stance towards anyone, towards any of the Islamic countries. All Islamic countries are beloved countries or brotherly countries. We don't take a negative stance towards the countries of the world. We want want a world of stability, world peace, world stability. And if this is not achieved in the Arab world and in Arabism and in the Middle East, then we cannot have stability in the whole world, as everybody knows. My beloved, all of you, the Iraqi people, the brotherly Iraqi people have made a lot of achievements on a long road in order to achieve peace and security, or peace and stability. And we still support the Iraqis, and the Iraqis are still striving to confront many political challenges and many security challenges. And Egypt and all of the Arab brothers, as they announced, they will do everything they can. They will not spare any necessary efforts in order for this great country, the country of Iraq, and in order for the great people of Iraq to get stability and security by the participation of all the components of Iraq in building their new state, which they are striving to achieve, a nation of law and justice and human rights, within the framework of understanding and agreement between all of the sons of Iraq. My brothers and sisters, my beloved, allow me to focus here and to highlight the issue of our brothers and our sons in the south of Al-Wadi, in Sudan. Sudan represents the strategic depth of Egypt, and Sudan has a special place in the hearts of all Egyptians and all Arabs. And Sudan, more than any time before, needs support and assistance in its efforts in order to achieve stability and growth, and laying the foundations of healthy relations with Southern Sudan. Southern Sudan, the recent country which was born. Together with Sudan, these two countries represent the meeting point of the Arab and African world. And this center must be based upon cooperation and solidarity, not hostility and confrontation. And I appreciate that Sudan has indeed made a lot of sacrifices in order to preserve peace and stability and achieve growth and prosperity. And Sudan has been completely committed to the implementation of comprehensive peace. And Sudan was the first to recognize South Sudan in accordance with the will of those who live on its territory. However, the international community did not give the support to Sudan, the support which it deserves. And now, at this historic turning point which Sudan is witnessing, Egypt, in accordance with its historic responsibility and based upon its brotherly relations and the close geography with Sudan, and as I said, the close geography with Sudan, Egypt hence calls on everyone, calls on all the Arabs and all the international world to join their efforts, to pursue their efforts to support these Sudanese brothers and to contribute in bringing about agreement between Sudan and Southern Sudan to solve the outstanding issues. And these are not a number of issues, are not a lot of issues, and are not fundamental issues. And I must here salute the efforts of the Arab League, which launched the three-way initiative with the African Union and the United Nations in order to improve the humanitarian situation in the South Kordofan and the Blue Nile. I'd like to also stress that Egypt supports the efforts of the African Committee, the high-level African Committee, which is...
Well, the 138th meeting of Arab foreign ministers at the Arab League's headquarters in Cairo has convened. Speaking at the summit was Egyptian President Mohamed Morsi. He just opened his comments by lauding the revolution in Egypt and described Liberation Square as a launchpad for the revolution and as a turning point in the history of Egypt. He also appreciated the Arab League for monitoring the presidential elections in Egypt. Now, he also added that the Palestinian cause remains the first cause of the Arab League, and to achieve an Arab revival will only occur if there is a just cause for the Palestinian solution. He also added that the Arab people cannot and will not accept the occupation of Palestine. Also in his comments, he vilified the Israeli settlement expansions, which is illegal according to international law. He also added that Egypt will always support steps made by the Palestinian leadership and will also support any efforts by the Palestinians to receive a full membership at the United Nations. He also said that this is basically a message that it's not possible to keep ignoring the Palestinian situation. He also said that retrieving unity amongst Palestinians is also an urgent necessity. Now, talking about the issue of Syria, he acknowledged that Syria is a founding member of the Arab League, and Syria has a special place in the hearts of the Arab people, and we have to find a solution to the Syrian crisis quickly. That's according to Mohamed Morsi. He also said that there must be an expansion of efforts to find a solution for the suffering in Syria, and it must be done in an Arab framework. He also said that we must prevent Syria from falling into a civil war, and also added that there must be no foreign military intervention in Syria. Also, he asked the Syrian government, quote, not to take the right decision at the wrong time, which most likely alludes to calling the Syrian government to step down. He also talked about other countries in the region welcoming the Yemen election of Abdrabbuh Mansour Hadi as new president, and also added that Egypt will help Yemen at any time. He also said that we have support for all our Arab brothers, and Egypt is seeking a stable world. And in his finishing comments, said that he's also added that they advocate support for dialogue and efforts of peace between Sudan and South Sudan. That was Egyptian President Mohamed Morsi speaking at the 138th meeting of Arab foreign ministers at the Arab League's headquarters in Cairo. We were seeing live images from the two-day summit of the foreign ministers that has just kick-started, I believe, today, and will also convene on a second day tomorrow. Well, we were listening to the comments made by Egyptian President Mohamed Morsi earlier. We're now going to get some insight on those comments from our political analyst joining us now from Beirut, Mr. Jamal Wakim. Mr. Wakim, welcome to the program. Let's start off with Morsi's comments. How did you perceive what he said at the opening ceremony at the summit?
I believe that he was trying to inaugurate a new era in Egypt's role in the region under the leadership of the Muslim Brothers. However, what I saw was a continuation of the old strategic and geopolitical guidelines of Egypt, whether under Mubarak or before mainly under Sadat and under Mubarak, with regards to the Palestinian cause, where he said that he will accept anything decided by the Palestinian leadership, so he's accepting the Oslo Agreement. There is no turning away from peace with Israel, of course. A just solution for the Palestinians. This is what Mubarak regime has been calling for 3 decades. So this represents also a continuation. The call for support to Sudan, this is also something that is not new. With regards to Yemen, blessing the takeover of Abdrabbuh Mansour Hadi, the new president, over power. So this is also, it comes at a time to cope with the change in Egypt. The main point that would be of interest was with regards to Syria, where he said that it's time to change, and that he's sorry for the bloodshed, and that the Syrian regime should listen to the call of the people and should step down as soon as possible when the time is still ripe for it, and not to take the right decision at the wrong moment. And he said that he's collaborating, or Egypt is collaborating with Turkey. He didn't mention Iran in this sense, in this regard, nor did he mention Iraq, which are both supportive of the Syrian regime. He didn't say that he wants to address the Syrian leadership or send an emissary or have contact with the Syrian leadership. So this means that he is waging a diplomatic war, or he's supporting the efforts to oust the Syrian regime. So all this is part of the directory that was followed previously by the regime of Hosni Mubarak, and it's taken for granted under the rule of the Muslim Brothers in Egypt with Mohamed Morsi as president.
Mr. Wakim, let's focus more on the comments made on Syria. Mohamed Morsi said that we have to find a solution to the Syria crisis quickly, and we must stop the suffering in Syria. But my question is, why was there no mention of the issue of certain foreign countries or parties, or however you want to phrase them, of stopping from facilitating and arming the opposition in Syria?
The regime has taken side with Saudi Arabia, with Turkey, in their efforts to topple the Syrian regime as part of the new American directory in the region to form a triangle of Sunni Muslim states or capitals, Ankara, Riyadh, and Cairo, to block what they call Shia expansionism towards Shia Iranian expansionism towards the East Mediterranean, passing through Syria. That's why Syria, or the Syrian regime, has been considered as a breach to this triangle, and that either Bashar al-Assad had to sever his ties with Iran or he had to be toppled. It's very important to mention that Morsi was in Tehran a few days ago as part of the Non-Aligned Movement Summit, and in his speech, he didn't mention Iran, not as a regional power, but now as head of the non-aligned movement. So in this case, this is a very important issue not to mention Iran for Morsi. This means that they are trying to, they are not participating or making Iran participate in the efforts to end the crisis in Syria, and that toppling the Syrian regime is partially directed against Iran, against its efforts to have access to the East Mediterranean as part of a bigger struggle between the United States, the Western Europe, and Turkey on one hand, against Russia, China, and Iran on the other hand, over global hegemony.
Well, given the current stance that Morsi has on Syria, based on the comments that we've been just listening to, how effective do you think Egypt can be in trying to quell the unrest and finding a solution to Syria? We already know that Egypt does have its own proposal of a contact group to end the Syrian crisis. How do you perceive those efforts?
I perceive these efforts as mainly supportive to the insurgents, especially that insurgency is heating up now. And this cannot happen without Egyptian support, especially that Saudi Arabia and Qatar had been trying ever since the beginning of this insurgency in Syria, Turkey too. Now with Egypt putting a hand in assisting the insurgents and in trying to help the insurgency, I think that things will heat up in